Here for another Geo interview. We've got a couple of folks with us from the Hammond Community Garden. And I'm just going to let you guys introduce yourself and your organization, and just tell us where you're from and a little bit about what you do. Start with Myke.
Great. Thanks, Josh. My name is Myke. I am one of the founders of the Hammond Community Garden, along with Terran and a handful of our other friends. We're really a mutual aid project. We didn't know anything about gardening, really. We knew the basics, but there was a lot for us to learn. And we found a plot of land, some public land, that was not being really tended to. And so we asked, can we just start tending it? And it was really just so that we could prevent from having it taken away from us right away. We're not affiliated with the city in any way. It was really just kind of giving them a heads up that we would be utilizing the space and making sure that they wouldn't mess with us. But since then, we've grown quite a bit, not only in size, but in the number of people who have been involved. And yeah, I guess that's kind of it, high level. I'm sure you'll have other questions and I'll be happy to answer those.
Yeah. Terran, you just want to introduce yourself and maybe tell us how you got involved with the garden?
Like Myke said, I was one of the first people involved. It was just really a group of friends that wanted to do something productive during the height of the lockdown. And one of the best things we could think of was taking over managing this garden that was just there but wasn't being used by anyone. So don't really have much else to add.
Great. So kind of went over how you've got started. Can you talk to us a little bit about your organizational structure? How do you make decisions as a group together?
Terran, you want to take that one?
Yeah, so we try to do consensus decision making for as many different decisions as possible. Anything that relates to the actual garden, like what's going in it, where we're planting things, we all decide collectively, either in person for everybody that's there or in group chats. So we give everybody a chance to respond and weigh in and share any expertise they might have. But we do that for most decisions. There's not really anything besides little minor things like, deciding to pull weeds or something. But even that, we'll usually double check with people to make sure we're actually pulling weeds and not something we want to keep. Um, and for anything major or related to everybody, we make decisions consensusly with consensus. Might have to edit that out.
All right.
I guess the one I would add to that is that we have formed loose committees to oversee specific tasks or projects or initiatives. There's no main decision maker, but there usually is some sort of leader or leaders in a particular group that will kind of emerge and kind of help lead the project based on expertise. There's some people who have a lot more gardening experience than other people. And so, they're always happy to share their information and we're always happy to learn. But there's also other things that we've gotten involved in, like with food distribution. We've collected a lot of dried food goods, canned goods, that sort of thing, and gotten that back out to the community. We had this program called the Shared Plate, where we were just taking donations from local community members, businesses. We had deposit areas set up at these different cafes around the area for folks to donate, and we got a lot of great responses. So that's one group that has been pretty active. And then, we have people who are dedicated to managing the social media. Anyone who wants to be involved in any of the committees is allowed to do that, obviously. There's no limit to the number of committees you can be involved in. It's really based on your interest and your capacity.
Okay. And And how formal are you guys with your structure? Like, do you have your bylaws written down and stuff like that, and a standard kind of organizational structure, or is it more just kind of organic? Uh, how does that work?
Yeah, it's more organic. I mean, we do have some like community guidelines, and it's something that we kind of go over at the top of every season. So we kind of have a call out meeting for people who want to join us, who have not been involved, or people who have been involved in the past but want to come back. And we always start with our community guidelines. We go over kind of our mission statement, why we exist, the reason that we want to do this work, and then kind of just make sure that those guidelines fit still. We always kind of start there. Whoever is involved is going to have a say in what those guidelines look like. And to that point, we've changed them from year to year a little bit, just kind of based on not only what we're aiming to do, but like what is the reality of our group. Like, sure, we would love to be helping secure food for families throughout Hammond, Indiana, but we only have so much capacity, but we just want to be honest about it. I don't know, Terran, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, that covers pretty much everything
Cool.
that I can think
Um, yeah. So I guess I should ask. I don't think I heard either of you mention it. How big is the garden? How large is this plot?
I think, Terran, we've measured so the initial plot that we got approval to use from the Parks District, because we are located right on there's a bike trail that kind of goes through Hammond. What's the name of that trail? I always forget, Terran.
That's the Erie Lackawanna.
Yes, yeah, that's it. The Erie Lackawanna Trail, where we're located right there off a pretty main road. But once we kind of took it over, the goal was to grow, and we weren't going to ask for permission to do that. So it's like a little 80 by 20 plot that is like the actual garden that is fenced in. But outside of that, we've started to place raised beds and, water totes and all kinds of benches and all kinds of stuff to kind of take up as much space as we possibly can year over year.
Nice. And how is it? Sounds like you've got a pretty decent relationship then with the city administration, the Parks Department, who you're working with. Do you have anything to say about that? Anything that's I don't know, you might share with, say, other people in other places that are wanting to do something? Have you learned anything about working with the city in your in Hammond there?
Yeah, so the need or want for us to get approval was really to ensure that we didn't get kicked out immediately. But from there, we've tried to keep the city not involved at all. Like, we haven't asked for additional permission. We haven't, like, there have been suggestions. We don't have any water. And so we have to bring water in. And luckily, we've had neighbors who have been able to support us that are like living near the garden. We just give them some money. We've received donations, and so we'll pay them to help fill up our IBC totes. But we try to keep the city as involved as little as possible. We kind of want to stay off their radar, although with that being said, we do have like very public events that are always free. And so like there's this kind of a balancing act where we want to be willing to engage in conversation with them if they approach us, but we're not really inviting them to be part of the garden, if that makes sense.
Right. But they're well aware that you're there and everything, and so
they know we're there. Terran, is there anything that you wanted to add to that as far as like our involvement with the city?
Besides the initial conversation, I don't think we really talked to them at all. Like, we haven't had any really official communication besides just getting permission to use it. We have had the police stop by a couple times to a couple different events, but even that hasn't been happening as much recently.
Yeah.
And they haven't stopped us from doing anything. I don't think we've ever really done anything strictly illegal. But besides
Yeah.
stopping by. I think they stopped by to the first school supply giveaway that we did, and they stopped at another event that we had not long after that. But
Yeah,
even that was a couple of years ago.
I think it was the Pumpkin Palooza. So we host like we try to make it as like I don't know, family friendly as possible. We want, all of the neighbors to feel welcome, including the kids. There's so little for kids to do in public spaces, and like parks are disappearing like crazy. And so, this space, which is like a shared green space, we want to be able to share it with the community, even if they're not involved with the actual gardening aspect. We want to invite those people out. And so, we've had, like Terran was saying, school giveaways. We had like a really, really free market. We had what we call the Pumpkin Palooza, and that event was like basically end of the summer fall sort of celebration where we are like doing pumpkin painting with the kids and stuff, and the police stop by and they like kind of ask us, what's this about, what are you guys doing? And we always kind of have a designated person who's ready to talk with police, and we try to be like really mindful about how we plan for these events, not only in terms of making them accessible, but like planning for those types of interactions. And so we'll even say like, okay, what are our talking points? Who's going to be in charge of communicating with the police? What's going to happen if they try to shut us down? And so far, we've been really lucky. They haven't tried to do that. It's really just kind of asking questions. So we've been really lucky in that regard.
Yeah. And yeah, I think staying, kind of, well, two things that come to mind for me. Providing like a useful service for your community, like you said, there's not that many places for people to go. You're doing wholesome stuff, and then also just kind of being a little bit boring, like it's a garden. So yeah, that's good. It's always nice when we can get away. Sometimes it feels like we're getting away with our grassroots stuff, which it shouldn't have to feel like that, but given the society we live in, sometimes it does. It's nice when we're left to our own devices enough to do the cool stuff. So that's great. Yeah. Either of you do you have any advice just in general about any other aspect of your organization for other people in other places that have a piece of land that they want to make into a community garden and do something similar to what you're doing there in Hammond?
I mean, for us, it's gardening always kind of came second. There's the community part that came first. And part of that is developing meaningful relationships with each other, establishing trust, but also working, and not just working, but like reaching out to local community members to make sure that they know that they're welcome to be a part of that, whatever that means for them. We do a lot of food distribution from a farm stand that we have. And it's really cool to see people who are not even involved with the garden come drop food off for distribution. Other people come take stuff and they'll drop other things off. It's very interactive in that way and a mutual thing. And I would just say, like, seek those kinds of opportunities out, things that are not necessarily directly related to gardening, but like there is a connection there, food being the connection. And like, I don't know, like for me, it's been a lot of wanting to make like beyond like comrades, what I'm saying? Like we're making these like friendships has been very important to me because it's developed a kind of trust that's allowed me to connect with people on other things that are maybe a little bit more high stakes outside of the garden, other kind of radical actions that we maybe can be a part of. And this garden has been kind of a launching pad for that, or a meeting place for those ideas to kind of happen, those connections to happen, and then to take that work outside of the garden.
Nice. Yeah, that's good to hear that the serving that trust building kind of function is great. Terran, do you have any advice if there's folks other places want to do this kind of thing?
I don't really have too much to add to that, other than it's something that you can do even if you don't have any experience. most of us that started the garden hadn't ever really grown anything besides houseplants at best. And there's a lot of experience you can get from people online. And most importantly, we've met people who have been gardening at home for years who got involved in the garden just because they wanted something else to do, to be able to connect with people. And so we were able to get a lot of firsthand knowledge from people who, you know, been involved in gardening for most of their lives, who wanted to do something to get involved in their community. So I think the best advice is to just do it, especially if you already have access to the land. Like you can start building beds from scrap that you find. Like we started with pallets and garbage wood, and you know, ended up just getting donations, enough donations to start buying actual raised beds and um, being able to devote actual resources into the garden besides just what we were already buying. Um, and all of that happened pretty organically just from also being present on social media. I guess it's pretty important. A lot of the connections we've made, a lot of the donations we've gotten have come from just posting things on Facebook. Um, but the barrier to entry is pretty low, and you can eventually just learn your way through it.
Nice.
I think the one thing that I would add to that is like, don't get discouraged when you fail because you're gonna fail. Like growing vegetables and fruits and herbs. It's there are certain things that are pretty easy and you know pretty tolerant of a lot of neglect, whereas like other things need a lot of attention, and you just got to learn that stuff over time. So and find learn the science too if you can. Like that's one thing that like I've been learning over these years is like the science of gardening and like why all of these different things work, finding companion plants, finding things that don't like growing together, that sort of thing. And that comes with time, but stick with it.
Nice. And one question, a little bit out of order here, but how many people were in your like kind of core group when you were getting this started?
Terran, like between 5 and 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like something, right?
I think it was
I get
closer
the
to
years.
5.
Yeah.
About 5 people.
Yeah. The
Like
one
maybe
thing
6 or 7 people who were heavily involved when we first started, like as far as digging up all the old tomatillos that had
Mhm.
taken the plot over, and like remediating the soil for the first time and getting all the initial materials. Maybe like 6 or 7 people at first. I think the most that have been involved at once was like almost 20
Yeah.
at one point. Um, but people have moved, people have just had other things come up. So it's down to about 10 regular people now. Um, but that's been picking up. Some people have been coming back, getting more involved again. So
Yeah.
it just flows with time. But I think about 6 or 7 when we first started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty common for a lot of projects like that to have the ups and the downs, the people come and they go. But that's good that you got a good solid core group there to keep the space going. Um, so it looks like you guys accept donations, and I've got a link for your Stripe that we will share with the video in the link in the description. Um, Anything else you want to say about donating? I don't know what else you want to say, but
Thank you to anyone who can donate. That it means a lot to us. Like Terran was saying, we've gotten by completely with donations and found garbage really that we've repurposed. A lot of that actually is a lot of the work as far as our infrastructure is concerned has been finding items to repurpose. But as far as donations concerned, that is really what has sustained us year over year. And so any support is much appreciated.
Right. And for the people who are in the neighborhood, how can they how can they find you? Make for non-monetary contributions if they want to get involved.
We are on social media, so we have a Facebook, we have a Instagram. The garden is always there for anyone who wants to stop by. If you go to our website, you'll find the location. And we always encourage people to just go hang out there. Like you'll find, like, people are always surprised by how relaxing and how just enjoyable it is to be in that space, just hanging out, not necessarily working. And that's exactly why we want it there. So if people are in the area and they want to get involved and come hang out with us, we meet on Sundays from 9 to 11 a.m. Every Sunday. Once the weather kind of picks up and the growing season gets a little bit further along, we'll be meeting on Wednesdays from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Great. What's your favorite vegetable to grow? Terran. Whoops.
Probably
Last
to
question.
grow in general. Potatoes, if that would count. If you're counting
There you go.
vegetables. Not probably.
Easy. Myke, favorite vegetable
Favorite vegetable
to grow?
I like growing zucchinis. They're real resilient. We've had a lot of success. We've also had some challenges too with our zucchinis, but mostly
It only takes one zucchini plant, though, right? It only takes one zucchini plant to make a lot.
Yeah, exactly. There was one year that we were just growing these enormous zucchinis, and they just kept coming, and it was amazing. And like, we're right on that bike path, like I mentioned. They're so big, people could see them from the bike path, and we're harvesting them, and people are like, "Nice zucchini!" And it's just like, so yeah, zucchinis.
Nice. Well, if you guys have any final thoughts for people, anything you'd like to share with other cooperators, with other community garden type folks who might be watching this, now's your chance.
I would say find other community gardens to network with. That's been really helpful for us in terms of learning and really kind of taking the next step for us, at me anyway, as far as networking with people with shared values, because a lot of these spaces, a lot of the people that we've come in contact with who are not necessarily activists or community organizers that are just kind of starting these community gardens with like dedicated plots. It's like not our format. It's not how we're working. So being able to work with people who are like-minded, who are dedicated to mutual aid and those sorts of ideas, that's been really, really helpful. So seek that stuff out. People are doing it, whether it's individuals or small groups of friends, people are doing it. You'd be surprised who you'll meet. And so I would just encourage people to find other people who are doing that and network with them.
Yeah. Terran, any final thoughts?
Yeah, just echoing the same sentiments, but there's a lot of things you can do that have a pretty low barrier to entry, or that you might already have the skills for, that other people might need. And it's, once you get started, it's pretty easy to start networking. People generally have kind of sought us out. Other gardens and other people doing similar things have sought us out to work with us. So once you get started, the ball kind of starts rolling itself, and it makes it a lot easier to get involved in other things. So you can always start small and work your way up. And it's better to be doing something than thinking about all the things you could be doing.
Amen to that. Yeah. So, yep. So I think it sounds like the big takeaway is reach out to other people doing similar things and just get started. Plant some potatoes and a zucchini plant and see what develops.
Yeah,
all right.
get your hands dirty. Don't be afraid. It's fun. It's a lot funner than you'd expect.